Hi, thanks for joining me today. As always, my name is Nick Dogle, and I am still the owner and founder of North State Law. I'm going to be discussing nurse practitioners and their patients' compliance with the treatment or care. So this seems to be one of the more prevalent issues that not only nurse practitioners but other medical care providers seem to have with their patients. Frankly, I think it's one of those things that kind of goes across the board to a lot of different professions. I know, just speaking myself, sometimes clients just don't want to listen. You can instill upon them the necessity to do certain things, even to their own benefit, or avoid certain things that may be to their detriment, and they will just ignore you. I understand how frustrating that can be from a firsthand perspective. Just a couple of things as tips to try to avoid any liability or any issues with your licensing board. I have always found it to be making sure that you have put any sort of instructions or directives to a client. Make sure it's in writing. I think most nurse practitioners are going to have discharge instructions, next steps of care, things of that nature, which is great. You want to make sure that they have all these information and that they can do the next step of what they're going to need to do to stay healthy or to recover from something along those lines. Just make sure that you have some sort of acknowledgement that they received that the discharge instructions, for example, and that they've signed something stating that on such and such date, I, John Doe, Jane Doe, received, and then explain what it is that outlines my continuation of care and certain responsibilities that I undertake to handle myself, et cetera, et cetera. And then make sure that they sign it and have it dated properly. And then you'll keep a copy, or you'll keep the original, and they'll keep a copy of it. That just protects you from any allegations that you didn't provide them with notification of the next steps for their care that they need to take for themselves. If you're doing prescriptions as a nurse practitioner, obviously I would put that please, you've been prescribed X medication. This is going to be for X amount of refills, and have the directions on there on the discharge instructions as well. I mean, all this information is going to be on the prescription itself, but you want to make sure that it's clear in the discharge instructions. Make sure either yourself and or your staff go over those discharge instructions. Make sure you're available to answer any questions. Make sure the supervising physician and or secondary physician is available to answer any questions as well, in case the patient is a little bit confused about the next steps that they have to do for themselves, for their own care. And then make sure that, again, that any sort of acknowledgement that you have that you've done up is signed and notarized. I'm sorry, not notarized, just signed and dated by the patient as well. And that maybe follow up with them with an email a day or two later and say through a safety portal that you have, some sort of secure site, so you're HIPAA compliant, however you do that. And just follow up and reaffirm what the discharge instructions may be, that they received a copy, and see if they had any questions on it a couple days later. Okay. If there's any follow-up appointments, make sure that they're very clear on when the follow-up appointment is. I know a lot of medical care providers will do phone calls 24, 48 hours in advance. It's a very good idea. It's a good idea for most professionals, especially licensed professionals, to do that. Just to confirm appointments, make sure you don't waste your time. Make sure the patient hasn't forgotten about it, and that way they'll be able to come back in and get the proper treatment that they need. All right, so that's all we have for today. Hope you enjoyed this video. I've got a lot more over on my YouTube channel. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter and LinkedIn. My website is www.northstatelawfirm.com. As always, if you have any questions on anything, feel free to text or call me at 919-521-8810. Everybody stay safe out there, and look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.